What up, Shoal? It's Tuna. I just wanted to make a quick video talking about some quick-fire strategies to make currency here in the new league. As we're coming into the new league, there's maybe some things that have changed, some things that have not, so I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I've been doing. Make currency, Path of Exile being the currency farming simulator that it is. We all want to make currency. That is part of the fun, make currency, upgrading your build and things like that. So yeah, this is just going to be a quick-fire video of all the strategies that I've tested that I found to be worthy to be doing in this new league. They all require a little bit of investment to get into, but you can always roll your Watchstones and things like that by yourself rather than buying them, and you can always opt in for tier 2 modifiers on the Watchstones rather than tier 1, so that is always a strategy that you can do. The first one that I wanted to talk about was Lira Arthain. That is Blighted maps in Lira Arthain, of course. That is going to be using epidemiology primarily. You can also go for immune response if you wanted to go a bit faster, but this is going to get quite tough. Because the monsters spawn out quite fast, so if your build is not able to clear them, you can just take that off. Although you should definitely 100% keep this one. Just opt in to take immune response and put it somewhere else, it doesn't matter. But primarily you go for epidemiology so that you can get, more maps from the chest and things like that. And then opt in to going for inside job, just because that way if there is a smuggler stash, you can make a little bit of currency extra from doing that. And that is going to be using the exotic Watchstones, so that is a minimum 15% chance for blighted chests in the area to have an additional blighted map or oil. You're going to be getting on average 1 map per map, so with the investment of about 7 chaos for scarab, you can see here I've been doing, I use polished scarabs, by the way. So yeah, you're going to be getting like around 1 map each, so maybe sometimes you get 1 map every 2 maps, and then sometimes you get 2 maps. So essentially it always evens out. So that's about 30c per map. And you gotta be mindful as well that some of the maps have like a special anoint, like 75% lucky chests and things like that. So those sell for about 10c more than the original. That is pretty good. And the second one is Valdo's Rest. I really actually like Valdo's Rest a lot more than Lira Arthain, and that's not because it's more currency per map, but for me it's more currency per hour. Because in Lira Arthain, there's no maps that you can really horizon into that are really good. However, in Valdo's Rest, you can horizon everything into Underground Sea. So every T16 that you get, you can horizon into Underground Sea, which is what I've been doing. I've actually been over-sustaining them as well with the favorite system. But as you can see here, if I horizon these, it's very likely that I'll be getting Underground Sea within a couple of horizons. And then I just run the maps, and that is very, very nice. You're going to be getting a lot less blighted maps per hour doing this, but you're going to be making more currency per hour because you run more maps and things like that, and also maps obviously have juice, and you can chisel, alk, val your maps, and yeah, you're going to be using the same exact Watchstones as you can see here. I'm using the exotic ones. That is a 15 to 20% chance for additional blighted map or oil. That's very good, and I stack 4 of those, and that's the ones that you will see right here. So you just change that for Valdo's Rest. Yeah. The next one that I want to talk about is Delirium in Turn's End and Lex Proxima. This is going to require you to have quite a strong build, because especially in Turn's End, it gets really, really hard with greater forces. The monsters become beyond what 100% Delirium is towards the end once you hit 7 stacks of Deli. It's quite micromanaged intensive. So as you can see here, I've been doing this strategy here, and I average out about anywhere between 150 to 250 splinters doing this. That sort of depends on the RNG of where the league mechanics spawn. If they spawn at the start of the map, you're going to get a lower end of the splinter scale, but if they spawn towards the very end, they get really, really tough, then you're going to be getting a lot more splinters that way. I've been dropping tropical, I've been running Tropical Island here, and the problem with it is that it's a T14, and it's really, really hard to sustain a T14. I've just been sort of like putting it on my favorite system and doing other maps so that I can stack up more of these, because these actually go for about 10 to 14c in bulk, so that's actually quite a lot of money that goes into buying maps, so I don't really like doing that. That eats into the profits. So what I do is I flip-flop between 2 strategies, like Valdo's Rest, and when I have a bunch of maps, I go back to Tirns. That's what I've been doing lately. Another strategy is to go for Ejoris, sorry. That is to grab Compulsive Hoarder and Persecutory Delusion, and you're also going to be getting 4 of the Split Watchstones. So you can see those Watchstones right here. So that is increased stack size splinter, and you're going to be running that as well, most likely on Promenade, which you can't horizon into, so you will likely have to either buy the map or put that on your favorite system and run it that way. But yeah, that is another strategy for Delirium that I can recommend. Next, I want to talk about a new Vastir. New Vastir is still viable because we have Mudgeyser in new Vastir. Mudgeyser is a really nice map. It's very, not exactly linear, but it's got a lot of space for legions to spawn and things like that. So over in new Vastir, you're going to want to use two Legion encounters have increased chance to be a Marquette army, and then one of them to be Templar, or additionally, or you could just go for 3 Marquette, it's up to you. And the last Watchstone is going to be the Emblematic Watchstone, which gives you a % chance to drop full emblems rather than just splinters, so that's a 0.08% chance. So that you're going to be grabbing Emblematic as well with war supplies, and the rest is up to you really. Make sure you take all of the Legion nodes here, so take a Protracted Battle as well, and then you can take either Exiles if you know, they don't know you or anything like that, or you could go for Abyss. Abyss is also pretty decent, lots of monsters there. Yeah, you're going to be most likely running Mudgeyser map. It's much easier to sustain a T16 in this league than anything else because of the Alice bonus and things like that, so yeah, Mudgeyser is a good map to run. Alright, so the next strategy that I wanted to talk about was Haewark Hamlet. So that's primarily focusing in on the harvest here and amplified as well. So you're going to be taking all of the harvest nodes, you know, so you're more likely to get the good crafting options and things like that, and 10% chance to spawn harvest. And you're most likely just going to be Alkan going maps in this region. You can put Sextants and things like that, like Chisel, Alkan, Val, you know, you're going to want like some extra juice in your maps anyway. So it's just going to be like mapping normally and then getting some harvest stuff. And here you're going to be running 3 mature Watchstones and 1 bountiful, which is what I think is the best strategy to go for. Or you can go 4 mature Watchstones. These do stack, so that's really good. Alternatively, you could also go for a more micro-intensive strategy, which is rolling the Sextant for harvest itself, but I generally don't really like spamming through Sextants, but they are pretty cheap right now, so it's completely up to you whether you do that or not. So that is, yeah, what you're going to be doing there in Haewark Hamlet. The next one is a glennach cairns. So glennach is probably the most micro-intensive strategy you can do currently in the game. I wouldn't do this myself, but it's really, really good. So you're going to go for a Pure Demon, Torn Veil, and obviously Scented Blood on the way. And the rest is completely up to you, whether you take strong boxes or whatever. And here you're going to get some demonic Watchstones. So that is going to give you 6% chance to spawn an additional Beyond from a portal. And you're going to stack that with 4. And when you also, on top of that, stack that with 6 of the stone, you're going to get a higher chance to get Beyond monsters. And since they're going to be dropping additional currency from Pure Demon here, they're going to be dropping a lot of currency, but the whole trick is that you have to hard roll Nemesis currency on your Sextants, so that's Nemesis 3. So what you'll do is you'll roll 3 Sextants to block, and then you'll just spam on 1 Sextant until you get a good one. And then if you get a good one, you take the Watchstone out, and then you put another one in. And yeah, you're gonna do that until you get Nemesis 4. It's really, as I said, very micro intensive. And yeah, once you get that, then you have your Sextants already gone. You're gonna want to also, on top of that, roll Beyond on your map, right? So you're gonna want to roll Beyond on your map, and then you're gonna want to run that with Nemesis on the map device. This strategy is only for the sweatiest of gamers. I personally don't want to do that one, so. But I'm going to put the option there for anyone that wants to do it. Anyone that has maybe a Headhunter and a strong build that can run it. Completely up to you, dude. It's completely up to you. But yeah, the next one that I wanted to also talk about was Lira Arthain for breaches. Because a lot of people have been doing this with success. So you get 4 breach Watchstones that have a up to 66 to 100% chance to spawn Chayula. So you go for Probing Weakness and Flash Breach, you run that, and the rest is completely up to you. I'd probably recommend going for Blight. You want to run that most likely on Ramparts. Again, this map is not easy to sustain, being a T14, so you're most likely going to want to buy it. But yeah, you're going to be averaging maybe like one Chayula Breachstone every 2 maps. I've, you know, seen upwards of 66 splinters at times, so that is pretty good. You're going to make a decent amount of profit doing that. And then on top of that, you're going to get some free Blights here and there. So yeah, you'll stack up 4 of these, and you're going to want to divine them all the way up to 90% plus, so that you have, you know, a high chance, you know, as close to 400% increased chance as possible, so that you're going to ensure that a lot of them are going to be Chayula dropping from those maps. So that's pretty pog. So yeah, and you're going to want to use that with most likely gilded breach scarabs to make sure that you're forcing as many breaches as possible to be as efficient per map as possible, since you're buying the maps themselves. So yeah, that's going to be the thing you want there. Alternatively, you could also be lazy and just run rusted breach, but these ones only have 1 breach, these ones have 2 breaches, and gilded have more breaches. So yeah, the more breaches per map, the better, of course. The next strategy I wanted to talk about is something that I've been doing for the last day. And obviously Grimro has made like a really in-depth video about how good this is and whatnot. And it is really good. It's called logbook farming, and logbook farming is insane. I'm going to put all these searches in the description, by the way. You're going to be wanting to farm only 2 factions. That is Black Scythe and Knights of the Sun. That is because of the reroll thingies, the currencies that they drop. So you can see here exotic coinage and burial medallions are the only ones that are really good. The Gamba lady is pretty shit, and then scrap metals and also not that good. So yeah, you're just going to want to focus in on those two factions. So you're going to get a lot of coinage and a lot of burial medallions on top of a lot of artifacts. So if you want to see an in-depth description of how you're going to be doing that, make sure to check out Grimro's YouTube. He made an in-depth guide on how to do that. So yeah, I suggest you look at that. But the profit is actually insane. So what you'll do is you get your logbooks, and you're going to be either using a fractured fossil on them. You can see here the 27 chaos, or you're going to be splitting them with a Fenimol Plagued Arachnid, 33 to 40 C. So the logbooks costing around 50 chaos. It's always worth to split them. They're 40 C now actually, so yeah, you're going to be wanting to split them. Make sure you're looking at, for example, this one's Battleground Graves. You don't really want that. What you're looking for is the good layouts, so like Utsal's Outskirts, Black Scythe Mercenaries, that's what you want right there. And item level 81 plus, of course. Then you'll run them, you'll try to get maybe 1 or 2 good remnants, like monsters are doubled, runic monsters are doubled, or additional artifacts drops, and things like that. And then you just want to spam as many runic monsters as possible. So that is a quick rundown of how you do that. And then you're going to want to make sure you split them before you run them, because you're going to want to bless these to get as many rewards as possible on them. And blessed orbs are actually not that cheap, so you'll bless them first, and then you'll fracture or split them, and then you'll obviously roll them to have high quant, and then run them. That's the strat there for those. And the last strat that I'd like to talk about is simulacrums. At the moment they're only 1x, so you just can't lose money on these. It's insane amount of money. If your build, again, if your build can handle them, or if you're, you know, if you can handle them, because I personally can't. I don't find them fun at all, but obviously for some people making currency is the fun, so that's up to you. A wise man once said, fun's over months, so make sure that you do something that you actually enjoy, because if you do enjoy it, you're going to be doing it more and more, and in turn you're going to be making more currency by doing that, so that's always pretty pog. So yeah, those are the main strategies that I like to talk about. Another thing I like to talk about is obviously the middle passives. This is always my default for map farming, so I can get more master missions. I buff up my Watchstones with Seekers of the Stone. I take Enduring Influence because Sextants are too good not to have an additional use. That's 1/3 more uses, which is crazy. So you get like 1/3 more out of each Sextant. It's just insane. I take Remnants of the Past because it's a lot more noticeable than Neuro Pathways, and you're going to be dropping a lot of Elder maps that you're going to be selling after a while. You see here, I'm just like stacking them up after a little bit. Yeah, that is a good way to go about that. And then lastly, I go for a depth tracker. That's because I'd like to get as many Cirrus as I can. Cirrus is still pretty decent money, and the Conquerors too, you know, with the Awakened gems and whatnot. So that's always pretty good. And I go for Atlas Awaken because I kill a lot of bosses, so that pretty much buffs all the drops that I get here from the Awakening bonus, which is just drops from the bosses and whatnot, from the map bosses. So yeah. Otherwise, you could always opt in for going for, you know, maybe Masters of the Alice if you want to do some Zana stuff. But I don't really recommend that personally. I would maybe take out Awakener 8 and put it into Neural Pathways or Thaumaturgical Awakening if you kill Conquerors. That's because you get an increased chance to get Awakening Jank supports and whatnot. So yeah, that is the way to go about it. And quickly talk about some Scarabs that I generally use on things like that. I really like to use Abyss Scarabs. Abyss Scarabs are actually insane. I've counted around 200 to 300 monsters per Abyss if they actually go their entire length. Often they don't. Often they open up to an Abyss, which sucks. But yeah, if you roll the Abyss Sextant and you use this on top of it, you're going to be getting at least 3 Abysses per map. And each Abyss has 50% more monsters. And think about that in Turn's End. That is a lot of juice that you add to your map. So I like to use Abyss, especially also because they're like the cheapest chips. They're like 1C each. So yeah, buy them in bulk there. Another one that I like to use in is maybe Rusted Breach, just to add some monsters. Rusted Breach are also really cheap. 1C for a Breach, that's pretty good. You're always going to make your money back on that. Elder Scarab is pretty much vital to every farming strategy, I think, because it adds the most monsters out of any Scarabs, and it doesn't really matter which one you use. So going to Gilded only gives you more Elder items, which we honestly don't care about. We only care about the monsters. So yeah. You could also use Gilded Cartography Scarabs, since a lot of maps are very expensive. Like if you're favoriting, if you're favoriting Tropical Island or things like that, they'll sell it for a lot in bulk, like 14C. So if you get a Gilded Cartography Scarab, which is currently about 4C each, you know, you're gonna be making your money back from that for sure. If you even drop like one map, then you already made 4C back, so that's pretty good. Metamorph Scarabs are pretty good, so you could go for the Rusted Metamorph. These are like also like 1 to 2C, so very cheap. I like Rusted Legion because obviously Rusted Legions are gonna be adding a Legion, and they're really cheap as well. They're like around 3 to 4C in bulk. And you always, there's no way you're ever not gonna make 3 to 4C back from a Legion. So yeah, you know, you use that, it's pretty good. And when I opt in for going for Blights, it doesn't really matter which Blight Scarab you use. I prefer to use polished Blights. Gilded Blights are pretty good. I tested Wing Blights this league and I don't think they're too worth it. But I go for polished Blights. I generally bought them for 7C in bulk. And I always made my money back running that in Valdos and Lira Arthain. So that's pretty much the rundown of what I do for the farming strategies this league. And yeah, I don't really even sell too much stuff. Like I just leave my stuff in dump tabs for 40C, and eventually people maybe whisper me for them. But for the most part, if I've been flip-flopping between 2 or 3 strategies, and you know, it's been going quite well for me, I always have enough currency to upgrade my build and to do things that I find enjoyable and to invest into the next strategy. So yeah, hope you find this helpful. Make sure to, you know, sub if you liked it. Otherwise, fuck you. Anyways, thank you. Bye.